Hey everyone, this is me, the Undead Viking, and this is Tiny Epic Mechs. Tiny Epic Mechs is a game in which, well, tiny epic mechs beat the heck out of each other. Well, technically there's only one mech, but there are meeples that are going to grab weapons that they're going to be blasting each other with, and they're going to be able to get power armor that they're going to be able to bulk up in and grab even bigger and more powerful weapons, but then there's going to be this big giant mech that they're all going to fight over and trying to control. Now, the big thing about this game, I mean, that sounds like a lot of fun as it is, but the big thing about this game when I found out it had programmable secret movement, which is something I love. There's so many things that I love about programmable movement type games. It's like, it kind of appeals to like the tactician in me, but it also just appeals to like me trying to outthink the other people at the table and trying to guess where they're going to move and what they're going to do and what their actions are going to be and how those actions are going to impact myself. And that's something that I've always just enjoyed that stuff. So let me show you how the game is played. I've had a heck of a lot of fun with this one, and then we'll come back here and I'll tell you exactly why I've had a heck of a lot of fun. Alright, cool. Alright, I have a 4-player game of Tiny Epic Mechs set up. Just so you know, when you do set up the game, this board is created randomly. There is one thing you have to keep in mind, that the spot that has the mighty mech in it will always be in the middle. And depending upon how many players you have, the board will look slightly different. But it will be symmetrical for the most part, and house enough room, depending upon the number of players, for them to kind of have some free range, but also they're close enough so people are going to butt heads and you're going to get into fights. To begin the game, each person will be randomly dealt a pilot of some sort. The pilots will have a special ability, and then on the front side they have just the pilot, them staying around, which is represented by one of these item meeples that the Tiny Epic people are known for. Look, I have a little gun on this guy, and he's holding onto it because of the fact that you can just put him in that little hole there. It's pretty neat. And then on the back of these, it stresses like your power armor, and and power armor is actually represented by having this cool little armor thing. It comes apart, and as you can probably guess, let me take the weapon off this guy. When you upgrade to the power armor, your meeple will just sit in there like so, and then you can go ahead and put him down. Isn't that cool? That's so cool. Just the fact that your little dude is sitting in the power armor. And I might as well, since I have you here, so the mighty mech thing in the middle, as you probably can guess, if you're able to get in there, and I'll tell you how this works. This also just has a little compartment. You'll pop it open like so, and your little dude here will just sit inside like so, and then close it up. And then and that's cool, he's in that little cage there. And you can have them walking around in this giant mighty mech and wreaking havoc. But you got to work up to that, and I just wanted to show you how cool. And I'm going to mention kind of like the toy factor and just kind of the immersion factor of having these little bits a few times. But in my opinion, it works really, really cool, and also it helps people to just kind of visualize the game. And that's how the weapons go in there like so. Alright, to begin with, each person is going to be handed one each of the basic weapons, which are over here. And then you're just going to pick one of those in secret, and then you're going to put the rest back over in that location, because people are going to be able to buy those. Now you can only have one of each, so you can't just you can't buy up like all the grenade launchers or whatever, but those are going to be available for you, and you are going to be able to purchase those. There's also advanced weaponry over here that is, as you can probably guess, advanced weaponry is better than normal weaponry or basic weaponry. Let me just show you here. So you have this. It has a cost over here. This right here is the victory points this is going to be worth at the end of the game for having it. This costs 1 credit and 1 energy if you wish to purchase it. This shows that it is like a shooting weapon, and it's pulse pistol. And then you have these 2 stats down here that are the damage. This might not make sense right away, but I'm going to talk about combat in just a little bit. But just so you know that this game does have a little bit of a like a rock paper scissors aspect to combat. So and like you'll have like, this is 1 damage, that's 2 damage, and like it says, if this is your first weapon card played during combat, you know, it immediately does the damage of a counter. Now this is the counter damage, and this is the normal damage. So just so you understand what they mean by counter, what they mean is that when you are doing your attacks, you'll get like attacked with melee, or you'll be attacked with explosives, or you'll be attacked with a ranged type of attack. And depending upon that attack, and depending upon the weapons that you have at your disposal, you will be able to do counter damage. And I'll talk about that more in depth in combat, so just kind of stick that in the back of your head for right now. Just so you know, like, you, without your power armor, as you can see, it has 1 basic and 1 basic. And like this is tank, tough as steel. Take 1 less damage from turrets and 2 less damage from mines. That'll make sense. Also, here in a little bit, you have a health track right here, and so you can see how this is a basic, and it'll go right there. Now, if we get and we improve to our advanced or our power suit, you notice that it has spots for 2 advanced weapons and 2 basic. I can't ever put a basic weapon. Even if I had like 3 basic weapons, I couldn't put 1 here. You got to put the basic in the basic spots like so, and the advanced will go in the advanced spots. And I might as well show you. So the kind of cool thing is that the Mighty Mech is itself an entirely different playing card. And here is that card. So you can see here is the Mighty Mech. It has a bunch of health, as you can see, and it has spots for 4 advanced weapons. Pretty cool, right? And also, you kind of take over the you get a different type of ability. So your old ability, like Tank's ability, would go, and I would be taking normal damage, but you'd have the rocket charge, where you would be able to move further than the normal if you were willing to spend some energy to do so. So you take over the special ability. So, and I'll talk more about how you become the Mighty Mech here in just a brief moment. So the way that you're going to be moving about on the board is going to come down to these program cards. Program cards are going to have an arrow, and they're going to, and most of them, some of them won't, like here, like the jump abilities here. Most of them will have an action that's on it. It's important to note that you're going to, like, the action is going to be your option to use unless you get into combat. Combat takes precedent over the action that you do. And since it's programmable movement, what you're going to do, and this isn't necessarily what I'm going to be doing this turn, but like you have to place it, so I'm going to paste, you're going to put 4 of these down. And when you do this, you have to make sure that it's placed square with the board. You couldn't like do it like this, so people are like, well, which way is that arrow going? So you place it square with the board to make sure that you know you're moving in that direction. And then you have it. And then what you do is you put another card over the top of it like so, so you can hide what the action is. And then you'll do that with 4 different actions. So, you know, and I'm not necessarily doing these, I'm just kind of grabbing random. So you'll have this in front of you like so, and nobody will know. And then in player order, what'll happen is that you'll take one of these cards and you'll just, you know, show what your action is. Then you'll do your action, and the next person will go, and the next person will go, the next person will go. And then it gets back to you, and you reveal your other one. And so on and so forth. And that will then, you know, move you about the board, and other people will have to kind of guess and have to figure out what exactly your plans are, where you're going to be going, and what you're going to be doing. You know, if you watch my videos, you know I love programmable movement. I love trying to outthink other people and outbluff other people and try to figure out what they're doing. So this is an aspect that really, really appealed to me. But anyway, let's talk about some of the different actions that you can have. So again, remember, the directions you go, you have to put that square with the board. Some of these will just be power-up. Power-up is how you get into you flip over and you get into your power armor. You have to spend 5 credits to do so. You only start with 3 of each. You can see over here in this little player board. You only start with 3 each of those. And you have to earn them by using a collect action, which I'll show you here in just a little bit. But if you spend 5 credits, you can take your little meeple and you can put them in your power armor, like I showed you just a little bit ago, and then they'd be in there. Or if you don't want to do that, or you can't do that, you can spend 1 energy to heal yourself. One health. You can spend 1 energy to heal yourself 2 health. So if you were at like 4 health, you can spend 1 energy, and you can go up to full health on that. Remember, you can do that with both your basic guy and your power armor guy, but you can't heal the mighty mech, as I said earlier. Alright, so then another action that you can do, and I'm going to do both of these to kind of explain them, is the deploy actions. You get a deploy turret and a deploy mine action. So turrets, for my game that I have here, my prototype, turrets are represented by this little cylinder. And mines, as you can see, everybody starts with 1 mine that they pick and they put down there. By pick, what I mean is, and I want to show you the other mines here. By pick, each of these mines have a number on the other side of them. And this is the damage they'll do if somebody walks into them. So, and they go through 1 through 4. So if I were to move, like say I moved into this spot, I would then be able to place a mine in that spot. If but it doesn't. You don't get to do it for free. You do have to pay either credits or energy. Turrets cost energy, and mines cost credits. So in this case, this is a spot that has a 2, so that's the cost to put things there. So if I wanted to put a turret in that spot, it would cost me 2 energy. And if I wanted to put a mine in that spot, it would cost me 2 credits. So I'm going to put a mine there. I spend 2 credits and do it. Now you can be in the same spot as your own mines. You can be in the same spot as your own turrets. But you can't put both a mine and a turret in the same spot. So keep that in mind. Alright, so, and as you can probably guess, mines will blow up when other people enter them. And when mines get blown up, they're gone. They're discarded. You don't get to take them back. And turrets will do damage to the person that enters into it. And they can be destroyed. So if the turret does damage to the invading opponent and doesn't kill it, the turret is destroyed, but turrets can be reused. If it gets destroyed, it just gets returned to you, and you can deploy it at a later time. But remember, mines are discarded. You can't bring those back. Alright, so I'm just going to, like say, we also moved here on another turn, and I deployed a turret in that spot. Alright, perfect. So that is deploying. And I'll explain what happens when you have other things come through there. This is the collect action. The collect action is just that. You're going to be collecting resources. When you do the collect action, you will collect the resources where any of your things are at. Be they mines, your own meeple, be it your meeple, power armor, or mighty mech, or turrets. And you'll collect the resources that are in that location. You can't collect double resources. So if I did this, I would get a credit from here, I would get a credit and an energy from here, and I'd get a credit and an energy from here. But I wouldn't get this twice because I have a turret and a meeple in that spot. I'd only get one get to collect that from that one place. So you can see, like, you want to move out and like spread your turrets and your mines around when you collect, so you can collect as much resources as you possibly can. Because resources, once again, are used to deploy turrets, they're used to deploy mines, they're used to heal yourself, power up, and so forth, but also they're used to purchase, which is over there, which is another thing I want to show you. So here you go. You have a purchase ability. A purchase ability is just that. You're purchasing one of the items. You can purchase one of these cool weapons that are over here. Like here's like this Gauss rifle, and so it's going to cost you 2 credits and 2 energy to get it. The weapon itself, if it's a normal attack, it does 2 points damage and you gain a credit. And if it's like a counter attack, it does 3 damage and you gain 2 credits. So, obviously these are better weapons than the basic ones. Remember, you have to be at least in power armor or in the mighty mech to have advanced weaponry. So, just keep that in mind before you start purchasing weapons. You might want to power up and purchase your power armor first before you start getting weapons. There's no limit to the weapons that you have. You just don't put them... You you don't activate them and put them on your character. So you could just have them in storage and waiting to be used. And you know, these are all unique weapons. Like the plastic over here are the different different weapons as far as like how they would go on. And I mean, these things are super cool. Like here's a little crossbow. There's I like this big this big, like, it's called the shock knuckles. So you get this big fist that gets to punch other power armor or mechs or whatever when they're in there. So you know, these are definitely super cool looking, and I appreciate the fact that, like, once again, this heightens that immersion, heightens that toy factor that's going on when you're playing the game. I also like this guy, like the big like the rocket launcher weapon that you have. I mean, and again, I mean, it looks cool, and it's fun to be able to, I mean, it's one thing to have like the weapons, just, oh yeah, I got a pistol here, that's my weapon, but to be able to look at your power armor, your guy, or the Mighty Mech, and having those weapons on them, that's just fun, and that's just cool. It just kind of adds that extra level to it. Now there are two other cards that you'll have, and these are your jump cards. Now as you can tell, one of these actually goes in a diagonal direction, and one of these just goes in an orthogonal direction. This one, and also I should mention, there are no actions on these. So you don't get to do like a collect or anything else, you just get to move. So this allows you to move 2 spaces. So it's like you're literally like jump jets or moving over. So if I played that here, I would move from here to here, and I could like fight that meeple right there if I wanted to. This one only moves you 1 space, but allows you to move diagonal, which technically, you know, if you think of it with orthogonal movement, that is moving 2 spaces, because normally to get in that spot we go 1, 2, like so. So just, that's one of those things where you have to keep that in mind. These obviously just allow you a lot more flexibility with your different moves around the board, and you can use it to actually surprise a few people because of the fact that, like, you know, they don't, it's moving diagonally is unexpected. You know, obviously you're not like planning on somebody moving there, and you know, it's just a way to kind of make sure that the entire board is yours to use and keep yourself maneuverable, not hemmed in. Alright, so how do you get in the Mighty Mech? I was going to talk about that. The big thing about getting in the Mighty Mech is that you have to be at full health, and you have to be in your power armor. If you have that, and you enter into the spot with the Mighty Mech, you will then inhabit the Mighty Mech. Being in the Mighty Mech and taking it over gives you some victory points right away, and also when you enter into the scoring rounds, you get points for being in the Mighty Mech as well. Now you might be saying, oh, scoring rounds, so how does this work? Okay, so this is a game of people moving around with weapons and blasting each other. But ultimately, this is a victory point game. And you get victory points a lot of different ways. You get victory points for doing damage in combat, winning combat, making people retreat from combat. You get victory points for knocking people to 0 health. You get victory points for the different weapons that you have at the end. But one of the big things you gain points for is you gain points. The game lasts 6 rounds. I might as well just show you this right here. The game lasts 6 rounds, and on the 2nd, 4th, and 6th round, you're going to score points. Depending upon the location of where you're at, you're going to get different victory points. Your mines will score the points of the spot that you're on. So once again, these numbers come into play. Like this would be worth 3 points if you're here. Your turrets score double the number of points of the spot that you're on. And so here we go. Here's a spot that has 2 points, but it has a turret on there. That's going to earn you 4. And once again, you can't earn double points. But so, where your person is, you are going to earn points for that. And if you just have control of the Mighty Mech, you're going to earn 3 points as well. So, 2, 4, and 6, those rounds, the end of it, is a pretty important moment because of the fact that you're going to get a big giant glut of victory points at that point. And once again, this is a game of victory points. You could destroy everybody else the entire game, and you know, well, I mean, technically combat does lend itself to have a lot of victory points, but you could never lose a battle during the entire game and still not win because other players either, you know, have scored really well with controlling different areas and having their mines and their turrets deployed. Now here's the kind of thing that I like about this, is that you might be thinking, well, you know, I'm yellow, why would I ever want to enter into this spot where I know there's a mine sitting there waiting to blow me up? Well, if I don't go in there and be willing to take the damage that's involved with walking into the spot where the mine's at, then I have to stop red from getting those points. I have to stop them from being able to turn in and when the scoring rounds come around. So it's one of those things where it prompts people to make choices to keep the dynamic flow of the game moving. And you have to just kind of maybe sacrifice yourself a little bit just to be able to prevent other people from scoring points. To wit, even entering into combat gets you a victory point. If you initiate combat, if you move into somebody to start a combat, you are then, like, you get a victory point just for doing that. Like, fortune favors the bold type of thing. Alright. So, the way turrets and mines work is that when you step into a spot with a mine, you will flip it over and you'll see what the damage is on the mine. In this case, it is a 4. And so then you will take that 4 and you will do the damage of the number that's on the mine and damage that's equal to the number that's on the space. So in this case, with this mine that has a 4 on it, walking into that spot would do a total of 6 points of damage to the player that entered into that area. So, you know, and if the mine damage takes out the person's mine who does that gets a victory point for doing so. And I'll talk about how you handle damage, because you don't get knocked out of the game, but you do get kind of, you know, knocked away a little bit, and you have to kind of regroup. Turrets, on the other hand, if you step into the same spot, so let's see here, like green enters into that area with that turret, you will take damage equal to the location. So turrets can you know what you're in for. And in a lot of ways, I like that, because turrets obviously score double points. So it's just one of those things where it's like you have a plan where it's like, I'm going to walk into that spot, I'm going to destroy that turret, and then the next turn I'm going to do a power-up action, which is going to allow me to heal up my meeple, heal up my guy. So, you know, so you can actually have some sort of a deterministic situation as far as that goes. Alright, so what happens if 2 meeples end up in the same spot, 2 power armors end up in the same spot, a mighty mech and somebody else ends up in the same spot? Okay, this is when combat happens. So everything kind of stops, and you're just going to resolve combat. Now you might be saying, oh, everything stops. It's like, what, does it drag? Does it slow down? No, it doesn't actually, because combat is handled very, very quickly. What you will do is each person will have their weapons that they're equipping, and the attacker will activate a weapon, and they kind of just turn it sideways to show that it's activated. They'll do the damage that it's done. Then the defender does the exact same thing. Activates their weapon, does the damage that it does, and then it goes back and forth. And basically what's going to happen is either you're going to run out of weapons to shoot, in which case then one of the people is going to be forced to retreat. You're going to destroy the other person, in which case then obviously you've won the battle, and you deal with the aftermath of that. Or a player can just choose to retreat from the combat right away. If the person who retreats, the other person gets a victory point for that retreat. And for every point of damage you do to the other person in combat, whether you're the attacker or the defender, you're going to get victory points for that as well, 1 for 1. Again, remember the counters are in effect. So as you can see by this little chart here, you can see that, you can kind of see the rock, paper, scissors circle going on there. So of each type of item that counters the other. So this is like area attack, and that counters ranged. Ranged is going to counter melee, and melee is going to counter area attack. And so when you have multiple weapons at your disposal, you're going to try to make sure that you don't enact the other person's counter ability, because usually the counter ability that they have is going to be better than their normal attack. Couple of addendums to combat. So if you were in a situation, let's just do this. If you're in a situation where a person enters into a spot and combat would ensue, but there is a mine in place, the mine explodes before combat occurs, and that could actually, kill the attacker before they even get a chance to have the combat with you. If you are in a spot with your own turret and you move into the spot, the turret doesn't attack. What happens is the combat is resolved as normal, and if the person whose turret it is defeated in the combat, the turret is destroyed automatically. The turret doesn't do any damage. So I found I never really wanted to be in the same spot as one of my turrets, and I kind of moved off of those as fast as I could because I'd rather have them there to defend it, and I don't want them getting automatically destroyed from out from underneath me. All right, so the other big thing is that after you've lost a combat, some things happen. So if you were in the mighty mech, you would immediately go down to your power armor level, and you would start at full health. If you were at your power armor level and you get defeated, you would go down to your normal level, and you would begin as at full health here. If you get defeated in your normal meeple level, you still just stay the same and you come back at full health. You start over in your starting spot unless there's somebody in it. If there's somebody in it, then you move to a spot that's adjacent to it. If you defeat somebody in your power armor that and you defeat them that was in the mighty mech, you then get to take over the mighty mech, and you get the mighty mech at full health at that time. So this also inspires people to chase after the person that's in the mighty mech, even if it might be a tough battle, because then you get to take it over and use it yourself. Something that I found that was really cool as well. All right, so the game continues, as I said, for 6 rounds. After the 6th round, and the last person has taken their last action, you do your final scoring, and then you will figure out the total number of victory points for each player, and whoever has the most points at that time will obviously then be the winner. Oh, one other thing, I do apologize. So, after you get beaten, obviously, in a combat, because maybe you weren't planning on it, maybe you weren't planning on somebody jumping over to attack you, you are going to run into a situation where, the actions that you had planned are not going to, aren't going to work for you because you're not in the right spot, right? So what happens is that each person gets one of these, ad hoc mode. And what that means is that after you get defeated, you don't use your programmed cards anymore. You're going to go into ad hoc mode instead. This means that you can take any action or any movement you choose, but you can't engage in combat. But this is actually really good because obviously, like I said, if you just got your power armor blasted off of you and you had plans, but they aren't going to work anymore because of the fact that you kind of lick your wounds or whatever. Being able to just have the freedom to choose whatever action you want is a needed moment that you absolutely positively have to do. So also, if you get, if any of your resources are less than 2, then you are able to go ahead and just get free resources to have 2 of credits and energy if you don't already have that, and which is also a good thing because then that allows you to actually get out there and maybe purchase a weapon or maybe put a turret out or things like that, so you can start over. But there you go. So as I said, after round 6, you total up the total number of points. Whoever has the most points will then win. And then if for some reason you're tied, then the player with the most leftover resources is declared the winner. Like I said in my introduction, when I found out, I thought the idea of being able to run around and mech suits and beat each other up, that sort of thing, I knew this was going to be my type of game. But when I found out that it had programmable movement, I knew it had to be my type of game because this is the type of game that speaks to me. I have a lot of fun with stuff like this, and I love trying to outthink my opponents. But let me talk more about that in my final thoughts. Hey, all right, cool. So that is Tiny Epic Mechs. Thank you for sitting through that and learning how to play the game. You know, if you've watched my channel, you know that, like, there's certain things that I just really like. I really like negotiation games. I really like auction and bidding games. I really like economic games. I mean, and my tastes have changed as time has gone on. I mean, there was like this worker placement phase. I mean, I think everybody goes through a worker placement phase, but there was a worker placement phase where anything that was worker placement, it was like, oh, I just need more, you know, that kind of stuff. But one mechanism that has stayed with me since the very beginning, and I think I did a review fairly recently about another, like, programmable movement action type of thing, and it kind of stems back to, like, an old computer game, and I don't remember what it was anymore, but it was an old computer game where each person had a robot, and you would give the directions for your robot to try to kill the other robots, and then everybody would input their actions remotely, or, like, each person would sit at the computer and type in what they wanted to do. The next person would go, and then you'd hit enter, and then you'd watch your robots do what they did, and then you'd see whose robot got blown up by the other person's robot. And I loved that game. I just loved it so much. And ever since then, like, when I got into board gaming, like, any games I had that had that actions, like trying to figure out, where do I want my guy to go? Is somebody else going to block me? Is somebody else going to do something that's going to interfere with what I want to do? Are they going to change the terrain? Are they going to change the board in some way to alter what I want to attempt? And that's, for me, the fun. And plus, this game's got reveal moments. And if you watch this channel, you know, reveal moments are something I think that we need more of in gaming. You know, I mean, take poker, for example. The reveal of the cards. It's like everybody wants to see what you have, you know, when you reveal it, you know, like, that's like that, oh, everybody's paying attention, everybody's looking, you know. And when you have reveal moments in games, you have that moment of surprise, you have that moment of elation, you have that moment of like, you know, curses, you know, and those are when, like, you feel the energy at the table, right? You feel the people interacting with one another. You don't have somebody sitting there staring at their phone waiting for somebody to get done with their turn. Everybody's looking. Everybody's like, okay, you know. And in this game, for sure, especially with, like, 4 players. I mean, I played at 2 players with my daughter a lot, and we really liked it because the board does shrink down, and we had to kind of guess where everybody was going. But I mean, man, 4 players was really where it's at, because even if, like, I'm the last person to go, I'm, like, wanting to see where other people are heading, and, like, I'm hoping that, like, everybody else kind of gets bunched up and they're fighting, where I can just scuttle off by myself and go do my own thing and be left alone for a little while until I can build up some power and get some better weapons, that sort of thing. And that kind of speaks to, like, how you want to play the game and how you want to win. And you could go into the game saying, I kind of want a turtle. You know, I want to just kind of, you know, reside in my own little corner of the world over here, maybe defend it a little bit, get some turrets and mines set up, you know, just kind of huddle in or whatever. But depending upon what the other players decide to do, they might just totally muck with that plan that you have, and so then you have to adapt that plan and do something different, and, you know, become maybe an aggressor and try to get your points that way if you're not going to be able to get them, like, in a turtle fashion, if you will. And I think that just speaks volumes to, like, just the dynamic nature of the game, but also the longevity of the game, why it's going to keep coming off the shelf to play, because it isn't the mechanisms of the game, it's the people and how they are using those mechanisms to influence the game that you're combating yourself against and trying to figure out what's going on and what you need to do to, like, squeeze every single point you can out of every single turn to make sure that when, you know, you finally, you know, clear off the dust and the explosions die off, see who ends up on top. And, you know, the games I've played have been really, really close and really, really tough. I mean, because it's a fairly open game as far as being able to see what people are doing. And, like, if you see somebody who's got a lot of, you know, they've got a lot of turrets, they've got a lot of mines, you know, hey, you know, she's got a lot of spots over here. We need to start going over there and taking that stuff down and destroying them. Otherwise, she's going to get a lot of points every single turn. So you have that kind of table talk, that discussion, that strategy kind of thing going on as well. Which, you know, again, you know, anytime you get people to put their phones away, pay attention to the other people at the table, and enjoy the game and enjoy the people they're with, then it's a big win for me, and that's what Tiny Epic Mechs has done. So there you go. If you have any questions about the game, please ask away. I'll be happy to answer those as best as I can. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video, and until next time, I am the Undead Viking, and I'm telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. Be the best version of you possibly can be. Be positive, be happy, be the person people want to hang out with, and remove the toxic situations from your life, and just concentrate on enjoying the day and enjoying you. Alright? Cool. I'll try to do the same. Until next time, take care.